Hello there, welcome to Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition playthrough with Ungainly Titan, continuing on from the Prelude chapter that I showed in the previous video. So I'm just starting in from the playthrough from the beginning. We're talking here to Lady Arabeth de Telmiranda, the Paladin of Tyr, and that's your chief character that you interact with on behalf of the authorities of Neverwinter for the duration of the first chapter. Essentially, she gives you a portal stone which allows you to teleport back from at any time, in the middle of a fight even. It gets you back to the temple. There's a portal on the raised ground there on my right. It also is where you respawn. The portal stone is the mechanic that allows you to respawn. So when you respawn up there, you can go straight back into the fight that you respawned out of, or you can come down to Lady Arabeth and get yourself healed, rest, and then respawn back into the fight. You can also, with 50 gold pieces, teleport to the last location you used the portal stone in. That is very handy, even if it is slightly expensive at the beginning levels when you have no money, because it avoids a lot of trotting around. There's a lot of walking around on the maps and going through and loading up different sections because of the way the mapping is done. So you can chat away to Lady Arabeth, you get her opinion on what's going on. You can ask her about the various characters you've met so far, like Finthig Moss, who is her lover, and she proclaims their giant loyalty to Neverwinter. And Dester, who is the head of the Helmite priests in Neverwinter, and it comes across as a rather arrogant character at the very beginning. Seems to be a slightly bitter pill. And she doesn't like him much, and makes no bones about it. She also basically runs the temple store in the sense that you have a dialogue option that allows you to access the temple store, so you can sell stuff that you've accumulated on your adventures, which frees up inventory space and gives you cash. It'll identify magical items, and you buy healing potions and some basic weapons. When you come out of the temple the first time, this lady comes up to you. She's from the Peninsula District, and things have all gone to hell in the Peninsula District. Would you please look into it as a member of the Watch? Kind of points you towards the Peninsula District. You don't have to go there. The other areas, I think except Black Lake, are accessible. You can't go to the Black Lake District, but you can go to the other three as far as I remember. And I'm not sure if you can go to the docks, but you can definitely go to Beggar's Nest, or you can go to the Peninsula District. And Beggar's Nest is okay. I mean, you'll manage. It's no worse, I think, or no better than Peninsula District. The docks probably be out of your range. This guy will give you a brief rundown on the geography of Neverwinter as well. And you can ask him various questions as well about what's going on in the different districts. On your screen, I've just added a blown up version of the minimap from in-game just to show you around the centre of Neverwinter. So I'm marking off the template here. We're out in the plaza. Next up is the Many-Starred Cloak. It's a wizard's guild and a wizard shop, and there's also a quest to become a member. The Druid Grove, I think he may have a quest as well. After that then is the Moonstone Mask, which is a bordello, owned by Ophalia. Pick up a quest from her as well. And it's the Rogue Shop. The guy over in the corner is the storekeeper for that place. And then you have the Trade of Blades, where you hire the bulkier hench people. I frequently go for Lin Yu, the Elven Cleric, at the beginning because she's a relatively cheap hire compared to some of the others, and I actually like the character. I always found her to be a pleasant character. The commentary and the little sayings that she'd have and stuff like that I liked. I also liked the Delin. I didn't particularly care for the Monk of the Long Death, and there may be others as well that I could have hired. I'm not sure if I've ever used all the hench people. I probably never quite utilised hench people to the level that I might have. Swapping them around for, say, the optimum effect. So here we are at the entrance to the Peninsula District. You go through the gate, you load the new area, and you speak to the guard officer in charge at the checkpoint. You don't have to, but if you do, it updates your quest journal and it gives you information about the area. Once you've spoken to him, he'll tell you that there's another guard outpost further into the Peninsula District, and this is a safe area as well. If you move forward a little bit, you'll trigger the encounter that's to demonstrate exactly how dangerous the area is, and all these guards join into the fight. Now, I hadn't quite got my tool spell bar or spells sorted out properly. I think I've had a spell failure there in launching the thing, but the move forward that I made was just enough to trigger the fight, which is just taking place off camera there. You just see the remnants of it. And I want to go in now with my monster summoned, because this place is just continuous fight after another. It's all like this. There are a variety of encounters. Majority of them are not particularly tough, but they're all dangerous. You're low enough a level that a combination of a critical and a sneak attack with a good dice roll at the same time could finish you, and it is a risk. It doesn't happen much in these little kind of mob fights. The biggest problem with the mob fights is that when you're in one, you have a great risk of triggering another one. There's a couple of sources of triggering. One of them is you don't have much control over your henchmen or the monster summoned. The badger's gone off there and detected a mob and ran into it, and while he ran into that mob, he triggered a second mob. And Linyu, you'll notice later on, has actually gone off and spotted a different mob and went off and attacked them instead of following me. Now, you can instruct the hench people to stay close to you, and it does help. It reduces their chances of aggroing mobs that are out of range or at the limit of their spot and detect range, while you're going somewhere else and you haven't spotted them, or you haven't detected those ones, and you're gone off in a different direction, and they come back then and drag in the other mob with them. However, in the open areas, particularly in the Peninsula District and in Black Lake, you have, because the mobs are on the streets and you're creating a fight, you're making noise, and they make spot checks and listen checks if they're within any kind of range. So you can be in a fight, and the fight can actually escalate continuously as each nearby mob gets triggered and aggroed into the fight. And it can escalate quite sharply. And there are a couple of citizen rescue missions. This is actually one of them. There's a person nearby, and he's actually a plot important person. Now, I don't know if he's killable, but I know some of the citizen rescue ones, if the fight's going on too close to the citizen, so it's also worth drawing. If you see a civilian, try and move the fight away from the civilian, because then the mob will attack you. You're more likely to draw the aggro, and they're not going to attack the civilian. If they attack the civilian, they might actually kill it, and that could be really bad if it's plot important. So you get a little mission from him to escort him back to the entrance. A co-worker of this gentleman is also waiting rescue in another corner of the Peninsula District, and I think if you talk to both of them, they're both worth a bit of XP if you carry them back and escort them to the exit to the city core. And I think there are a few other citizen rescues in some of the other districts, but I don't think they have any plot information. These people have some plot information, and I think, I can't remember, was this one, I think it's a lady. If you speak to her and escort her safely back, you get to find out about where you get a key for the Tanglebrook Estate, so you can get into the Tanglebrook Estate, which gives you an alternative entrance to the prison, which isn't as heavily guarded, so you can get into the prison without going in through the front door, which has quite a mob behind it. However, generally you should be able to handle a mob at this level. You know, you've leveled up enough that you should even be able to handle the door. And the map just unfolds as we go along, so we go back down. Sometimes if you're in real trouble and you run away, the mob will follow you, and you can use the city militia to finish them off. Just worth knowing. And there is loot and gold coins in very small quantities everywhere. The place is just full of boxes and crates and whatnot, locked chests and all sorts of things. So there's this guy coming back, and he's now safely delivered to the exit. It is nearly impossible to stop the henchmen and monsters, summon creatures and stuff like that from triggering aggro. So in cases where you want absolute fine control over the situation, you really need to unsummon them and tell the hench people to stand their ground. So now we've found the other outpost for the militia. There's a merchant behind that grated doorway. So you talk to the militia guards, and then you go in and talk to the militia officer inside, and they give you the next part of the quest, which is, well, it's already the part of the quest you've got. It's to sort out what's going on in the prison.
What brings you here?
But they do give you some information about how you would go about doing it.
Peninsula
So you talk some more, you agree to do the quest and get some reward for it. This is a separate reward from what Lady Arabeth will give you as well. It's monetary, but it all adds up, and you could do with every bit you can get at the start, because most of your gold that you acquire is going to be spent on healing potions, at least at the beginning of the game. Once you start getting some serious magic items that you start selling, then you'll build up a stash of gold pretty quickly, and you may run out of magic healing potions, but you generally don't run out of gold. One of the side quests you can take on, I'm a wizard, so I went to the Cloak Tower. I did it later on actually in this run through of the game, and you can get a mission there to become a member of the Cloak Tower to gain the many-starred cloak. And there are basically laboratories, locations around the town that you have to visit and collect stuff from. I think the druid at the thing has a similar missions for rangers and druids. There are merchants spread out quite a lot of areas, and generally they're there to basically allow you empty inventory. I think even that priest of Helm runs a merchant thing. And you can buy potions of healing. You can generally offload stuff from your inventory to clear up space, because there's an infinite amount of crap that you can pick up, most of which you will have no use for, but you will need healing potions quite a lot. Now, if I remember correctly, there's another person to be rescued around here somewhere. I'm also going to speed up the footage because it can take quite a while for these fights to end, because you're operating on the tempo of, and the actual official timekeeping of Dungeons and Dragons timekeeping. So it's 6-second rounds, and the thing actually runs out the rounds. And there I'm saying about the respawn and the criticals and the fast death that you can suffer from. So anyway, we had managed to wipe out the bad guys. We just got a lucky shot in at the end. This lady is worth talking to, because as far as I remember, she gives you information that allows you to get in to the prison via the Tanglebrook estate. It's no different from going in through the main door, really. But it's just another way of doing it, and you can sort of solve several problems with the one go. So yeah, you take her back, escort her to the exit, and again you pick up another handful of experience. So now we're once again back at the exit. So while there are a lot of mobs, there are only a couple of places really of interest. And there are a few buildings, alright, where there are doors you can enter. It's really up to you whether you want or not. It doesn't actually make any great difference to the adventure, but we're now down around the sewers. This is one of the areas where you can find the key that will let you enter the front door of the prison complex. Essentially, either in the immediate area, now we're a small bit far away, the sewer entrance, or one of the sewer entrances, the other side behind those kind of barrels and merchant area under the canopy behind the fight. But if you're around the entrances to the sewers and you run into a gang boss, you can meet him outside the sewer area near the entrance, or you can meet him inside the sewer area, which is just a single room. So that grated area going underground is one of the entrances to the sewers. There's 4 of them. In this particular instance, we run into the gang boss outside, and the gang boss is particularly tough. Way more so than the standard thug that you run into on this district. So there he is. And he spotted us, so we're in the fight already. And once we get him down, we can get the key. And with that key, you can gain entrance to the prison complex.
Only one way out for you.
From the main door. The other way into the prison complex, as I said, is through the Tanglebrook estate. The sewer itself is just a single chamber. You can meet a mob in there, or, well, if you don't meet the gang boss outside, you'll probably meet him inside. And if you, it's a kind of, I don't know, it's a random spawn, I presume. And I'm not sure if it's a guaranteed thing either, if there's one going to spawn every time you come down. I can't remember. It's just that the 2 times that I've arrived down here, there's been one on one occasion inside the sewer and one on one occasion outside the sewer. But I can't remember if you could arrive down here and no gang boss would spawn. The sewer area itself is just a single chamber. It doesn't go anywhere and doesn't lead to anything. So I'm just going into it now. It's pretty much like this, and we're meeting another mob of thugs inside it. Now I'm going to skip out of this fight and I'm going to go straight up to the next area of interest. We've more or less cleared all the areas around the Peninsula City District. And this fight is just near the Tanglebrook estate, where I'm going to use to get into the prison complex. So the Badger has triggered another thug, and the pillar that you see there, the building actually you see in front of the doorway, is the Tanglebrook estate. It's the side door to the Tanglebrook estate. And under the welcome mat there's a key, which I think you only get if you've spoken to the rescued the woman at least, or possibly both. I'm not sure. There's not a lot in the Tanglebrook estate. There's a diary entry that explains a little bit about what's going on and kind of furthers the plot. There's a couple of rooms, no kitchen, no dining area. It's one of the things you notice if you're playing this game, and often a lot of the houses, well, aside from being bigger on the inside than they are on the outside, which is very common in a lot of computer RPGs anyway, and it's an artifact of the mapping systems and the movement systems. But they frequently have bedrooms and libraries, and frequently have no dining rooms. A lot of the furnishing is non-interactive with it's just built into the tile sets that actually generate the different areas, and so that's flower pots and various other things like that you can't interact with, and some of it actually acts as kind of blocking terrain and the features and stuff like that. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. Now we're up against stink beetles. They produce a stunning gas, and it reminds me of one of the things that I didn't like about 3rd edition, that I got to dislike, should we say, about a 3rd edition, which is stun lock effects. So you can't act because you're stunned. That and the endless opening, or trying to open chests. One of the things about chests in this game is that you can try as many times as you like, and if it's within your capabilities, you will eventually roll high enough to open the chest. So you can always open the chest that way. You can try battering them down as well, but generally you need strength for that, or you need to spend off spells or various other things. Of course, you essentially have infinite resting, so you can afford to do it if you want to.
Victory will be ours.
But in the actual pen and paper, not so much in role-playing, computer role-playing games, but in the pen and paper versions of 3rd edition, stunning and stun mechanisms, and generally mechanisms that caused you to take a person out of a fight, were ones that ultimately contributed a lot to turning me off the whole system. The other thing to take note of, if you click directly on a door from far away, your character will run up and try and open the door and trigger the trap. So sometimes it's actually better to click. I still haven't learned to do it in this run through, but it's something I had to learn to do before. If you click the floor near the door, not at the door, because sometimes the trap's on the floor, sometimes on the door, then you give your character time to observe the door and to
What can I do for you?
not trigger, to spot the trap, should we say, and to avoid it. So now we've gone into the underground. I've skipped some of the more running around. We've gone into the underground tunnel that connects the Tanglebrook estate to the prison complex, where Lady Tanglebrook used to meet up with her brother and play games of chess on a life-size chess set. Unfortunately, she had a fatal encounter, I think with the brother, or with, should we say, something, and there she is lying dead in the middle of the chessboard, which has lots of traps on it. Now there are more stink beetles, I think, or fire beetles, I can't remember which type, over the other side on the tunnel, and that sometimes is one of the areas where you might want to tell your hench people to stand their ground, because while you're dealing with traps, if they see the enemy, so to speak, they'll run across the traps and trigger the whole lot, and sometimes they'll die before they even get to the thing that they're targeting, which is a bit of a pain. The tunnel leads up to an exit, or the bridge where the beetles were leads into an exit, and this is one of the side. This is a side entrance into the prison complex, and it's not as heavily guarded as the main entrance. This is also a place where I wasted a lot of time trying to open chests that were beyond my capability. There's a chat box on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, just above the toolbar. That actually tells you all the combat dice rolls. And you can look at that and you can see the DCs of the difficulty of opening chests. Now, prison complex is outlaid in a symmetrical fashion. You have prison cells at one side. You can open them by picking the locks or beating them in, but that would be very slow and laborious. You find a prison logbook and a key, I think, to a storeroom. Nothing of exceptional value or anything like that in the area. The whole thing is, this is the main entrance. As you can see, there's a few more prisoners, and there are a series of offices around this place. 2 of them are just standard offices. There's nothing particularly special about them. As you can see, the map has now opened up the second side of the prison complex, and it's basically symmetrical. There's a big room at the end, at the other side of the cell corridors that you're looking at. And the 2 offices that we need to go into aren't... Well, one of them's been revealed on the map just because we've walked close enough to the door for some reason or other. It's revealing stuff, and the other one it hasn't revealed. More prisoners, some of them after, I suppose, hearing something, and he's after coming out of one of the offices where we need to go, because this place actually has the lever. That lever you see there in the corner of the room opens up the cells on that side of the prison, and there's another identical office on the other side where another lever is that opens up the cells on the other side of the prison. It just makes there's nothing much really of any importance in the cells. There's a few odds and sods of treasure, but there is one additional XP quest element. So now we're about to clear out the other office that has the other lever that opens up the cells on this side of the prison, and I've leveled up. So I go in here, I open the lever, loot the place, and then use the portal stone to teleport back to the temple so as to level up, sell stuff, and generally gain a level. I think because I gained the level, I was able to retry the chests on the other side, but I'm going to skip all of that. The corridor that I hadn't been down, which I think is the southern one, has this guy. And he's a prison guard that has been imprisoned by the escaped prisoners, in the thing. And he tells you some more about what's going on in the prison and what the head jailer has been up to. So you get an indication of how many levels there are, what exactly he thinks is going on, a little bit more information about the head jailer, a mention of one of the chief henchmen, a kind of an important prisoner that was down in the pits. The pits seems to be the area where they have thrown prisoners who were basically left to their own devices. They can do what they like down in the pits. And I presume food and water is thrown into them on a regular basis of some sort to enable them to continue to survive, so they don't all just starve to death down there. What exactly stops them from digging their way out of the pits isn't specified. I don't know. That's pretty much the prison area. The final area in the prison that we haven't looked at yet on this level, the first level of the prison, the ground floor level, is the big brown area at the western end of the map. That's essentially the final area that you clear. I'm actually back at the entrance, the main entrance area right now, and I'm just going to go down the central corridor towards that final area. There are several mobs, including a gang boss in there, and there is a very big risk that you can finish up triggering several of the mobs together, which can be a very tough fight. The gang boss especially is a tough fight. There are also cells with locked dogs and stuff like that. The entrance that you see there on my right is the exit down to the lower level. So this completes my playthrough of part 1 of the Peninsula District Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. About an hour and a half of actual gameplay in this 20-minute video.
Welcome.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did. If you haven't already done so, please give the channel a subscription, and I'll catch you all again soon. Bye for now.